We've talked about this evening the great resignation, or perhaps the great escape of employees deciding to go somewhere else. What do you see as some of the triggers driving that behavior and that phenomenon?
So I've seen this from the perspective of the young people in my family as well as the people who work for my clients. I work with a lot of small businesses that have, 10 to 250 employees, and every leadership team I work with is wrestling with this. The triggers seem to be, first of all, how did it come to be that my family was always being sacrificed to my work? And in fact, you wrestled with that earlier this evening, to go to your daughter's thespian celebration and then get here just a little bit late. That kind of balance is so important. I think people know in their hearts that you've got to be able to do both, and our families need us, our communities need us. And so there are a lot of people who, over the past few years, have recalibrated.
Thank you for that, and that is great insight. So the tenets of conscious capitalism, really focusing on that higher purpose. What are some of those tenets that can help in the employee value proposition, as we may call it, especially for the millennial generation?
I think it is human nature to want to be part of something bigger, to contribute, to feel valued. And so conscious capitalism really hones in on that we are here for the greater good. We're not just here to make money, poison the planet, and get our own. That just backfires. If you work in a toxic environment, you're going to be miserable. It's going to impact your health. I once worked for a company where the divorce rate in the Atlanta region was 80%. Okay, that's not conscious capitalism, and who wants to work for a place like that? So in the companies I'm working with, when we always identify what is your purpose, cause, or passion. It's got to be bigger than your business. And when we show that to millennials that we are hiring, they're like, that's where I want to be. When we show them core values, that's what I want to do. I want to make a good living. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to keep my health up. And I want to contribute to something greater. That is, I admire the millennials because they have talked about that so much. Of course, you can't generalize on any generation, but
right.
Yeah.
And that brings us to really the next question that I wanted to ask about is, yes, we've talked about the millennial generation, but we also have multiple generations engaged in business and in nonprofits, baby boomers that still have plenty of energy and really the drive and the passion to contribute, and the Gen X and the Gen Ys who have come up through some of that, let's get as much as we can while we can. What have you seen in working with other companies that brings that together successfully, that brings those multiple generations together successfully?
It really is the tenets of conscious capitalism that is bigger than when were you born and what kind of music do you like. The boomers, and I think we're going to find this true of the millennials as well. There were boomers who were very conservative and very, that's probably a bad word, conservative. I mean, very, we think of the boomers as hippies, but there were a lot of boomers who were very focused on building their careers and moving to the suburbs and getting their families going. In our later years, I think sometimes we start looking at our legacy, but also I'm seeing boomers who were very idealistic when they were younger and then hit the reality of, I've got to pay a mortgage, now going, how can I give back? There was even one of the big rock stars, and I think it was Neil Young, saying, we cannot leave this planet worse than we found it. So we've got to get engaged. We do still have a lot of energy. And you'll see me being really passionate about this because I just went through a kind of 2-year rethink about, am I ready to retire? And no, I'm going to be that 95-year-old that in Atlanta people are coming to going, yeah, she's our Sister Jean. Sister Jean is a basketball mentor up in Chicago.
Yes, Loyola.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can be that for these other generations, and every generation has so much wisdom.